Welcome to the Uncensored Self Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Gillen, and on this show, ambitious women learn how to create a life they're obsessed with, without the hustle, without the grind, without torturing ourselves, and without following anybody else's rules. This podcast is all about creating our own rules, owning our identity as creator, and hitting every single goal we set for ourselves. Together, we're redefining success on our terms and building lives that look as good as they feel. Let's dive in. All right, guys, welcome back to the Uncensored Self Podcast. I'm really excited to have a conversation today with a new friend, and I'm sure I'm going to learn new things about this friend, but I have the amazing Kim Dean with me today. Hi, Kim.
Hey, Ryan.
Kim, I met through the incredible Courtney Benson, which you guys heard on the podcast very recently. And Kim is the woman that she was talking about that she decided to partner with when Courtney made the switch over to real. And so, and I, obviously have landed in a world full of real estate agents and learned a lot about Kim Dean, but this is actually one of my first conversations. So Kim, will you start with just a little bit of your backstory so everybody gets to know you, and then we're going to have a fun conversation today.
Absolutely. Well, again, thanks for having me on. This is exciting too. I've heard so much about you and the impact that you've had on Courtney's life and so many other people's lives. So this is really a treat for me too. So my backstory, I have been in real estate since I feel like I was in diapers. I graduated from Texas A&M. I'm a proud Texas Aggie. That carries a lot of weight down here in Texas. My husband now is a Longhorn, so we are a divided household. That is a lot of fun now come college football season. They're safe by each other again, but anyway. And so I've been in real estate for 23 years. I got into real estate at probably one of the lowest, craziest points in my life. That's when real estate found me. And I'm so glad that it found me at that point, because it really then shaped my future why, and why I've stuck with it for so long, and why I get up every morning and do all the hard things and keep saying, yes, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
And build a life around it, and married a realtor as well. But I got my license when my oldest was born, and he was born in 2001, actually just a few weeks after 9/11. We were in the DC area. We lived a mile from the Pentagon, and I didn't bring this up earlier, and the world was just in a funky place, and my mom had just passed away. I just graduated college in the year before. And so I knew that I wanted to be a very active mom in my kids' lives. Having just freshly lost my mom, it drove a lot of that. And I saw real estate as a way to make my own path, be creative, have my own flexibility in my schedule. And I'm so glad that it found me when it did. It's been the best decision. So starting out, I had been with some of the larger named brokerages. That's where I kind of learned my craft, and I joined teams and got to learn from some amazing people. And fast forward, my then husband and I moved back to Texas, which is where we're both from. And we're here in the North Dallas suburbs. I'm in McKinney, Texas today. And we moved up here. My second son was born later on in 2007. And it was right around 2008. At that time, my sister had partnered with me during the mortgage crisis, basically when the movie The Big Short was being lived out in real time. We thought it was a great time to forge our own path. And my sister encouraged me to get my broker's license, and we started our own boutique. And so we did that. From 2008 till 2021, I was a solo broker owner, and it was a wonderful ride, a great experience, and learned a lot of things along the way. Partnered with some really great agents, but it was about 2019 when I decided I wanted to rebrand my brokerage. This was right after I had gotten remarried to my now husband, who we actually went to high school together, which was a lot of fun, how our paths come back together. But I think it was just the partnering with the right man and the right time in my life and all the experiences that we have learned, that we decided to rebrand it as the Simply Texas Real Estate. And so that took off. And really, we grew that brokerage from about 6 agents to over 60 in just 2 years. And fast forward, it was the beginning of 2021. And as we were adding new agents rapidly, even though we were so successful, I just felt the stress mounting on my shoulders. And I felt it was at that time too when cancer entered our lives. And my husband was diagnosed with kidney cancer at the beginning of 2021. Thankfully, he's in remission today. He's doing great. But it really made me look at life and look at our business and say, could there be a better way of doing things? Is there a better way to maybe remove some of this stress from my life so I can just focus on the parts that I love, then also be able to focus on my family too? And so during that time, we made our move to our first cloud-based brokerage. So I moved my brokerage. I was no longer the solo broker owner anymore. Got a taste of the cloud-based brokerage, which I really felt alignment with. But because of some things that we were learning about that company, just no longer felt our values were in alignment. And so about a year ago, we made the move to Real Broker, which is where we are today. Been the best move. We now have exploded. We moved over with 75 agents. We now are sitting at 214 agent partners across the US today. And so that's kind of my journey. So in a nutshell.
Such a fun story. One of the things when Kim and I were chatting before we hit record, and she's kind of sharing this story with me, is what I heard her say over and over again is that like Kim was consistently looking for like values alignment, right? Like when you decided to start your own brokerage, right? That was about values alignment. And then when life shifted and changed for you, you needed to shift and change. And I think, was that intentional? Like, did you know that's what you were doing? Was it like, my values are out of alignment, I'm going to move over here? Or was it just kind of how you were explaining when you made the shift to Real, where you're like, something just doesn't feel right? Like, what was your thought process in each one of the things? Because looking back, I'm sure you can now see it. But when you were doing it.
Yeah, a million percent. I can look back now and go, that's exactly why that happened. While we were making those decisions, though, I felt it. It's just something you feel in your soul. And it's like, if something's not right, I think especially women, we have great intuition. And we're just like, I know it. And like, for example, when I made the move to my first cloud-based brokerage, I knew without a shadow of a doubt I was supposed to do that. But something was still like not 100%. And I thought, again, I could work through it. We'll figure it out because I knew I should be there. But then when the cards show themselves and you learn about it, then you have to, once you know things, you can't unknow them. And you have to make decisions based off of the facts presented. And so I feel like I've done a good job looking back at seeing those signs and moving. Maybe I haven't moved quick enough in the past, but I'm learning. I'm getting better each time. So
I don't know if there's anything like it's like quick enough, right? It's just one of those in timing. But I love that you shifted pretty quickly, because what I experience a lot with women leaders, Kim, and a lot of the women I work with, especially in real estate, right? Because come and go, and the way they look and the way they feel and the way you're treated. And, you know, it's not even so much, at least in my experience, the big name brokerage, it winds up being the leadership you work for, right? So that's what I hear a lot of. But a lot of people are afraid to make a change because they're like, well, I just made a change. And, you know, you had just made a change and you made a big change and you were thriving. And so to make another big change to Real last year was not logical.
No, that was probably the scary. Well, I don't know if it was the scariest one. It was hard though, but it was a change that I had to make because I knew that in that situation, and this will come out, I'm not sharing anything that won't, but there were, you know, when it comes down to sexual assault cases and things learning, they're just to my core jumps, right? Then I'm like, okay, then that becomes a very easy black and white decision for me. But I still had to, as a leader, do my due diligence, research where the company I was choosing to go to, because I had to be so confident in that decision that even if no one else came with me, I had to be willing to pick up my business and move it for myself. But I truly felt that this is the best move. And in hindsight, I'm sad of the situations that happened that showed themselves for the move. But I'm so glad that they did, because I don't know how long it may have taken for me to shift and get to where I am now. So
no, and I think that's really beautiful.
Home. It feels home now. And I didn't feel that last.
Sure. So there were some benefits, there were some wins, right? Like it wasn't a bad move, right? I'm using air quotes, but it doesn't feel like it did now. And I think, again, as I see this a lot with women, whether it's in real estate brokerages, I have clients who are in corporate jobs who are like, well, this job isn't aligned, but I don't want to go looking for another job because what are people going to think, right? Or I see this with the entrepreneurs I work with. Well, I launched this offer, but so if I go over here and I launch this offer, what are people going to think? And so we get so stuck in our logical brain instead of, like you were saying, that feeling of something isn't right here. And in your world, it's very black and white. It's white. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just a
Yeah.
feeling, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just I'm not playing full out. And my podcast listeners know this about me, Kim. One of my biggest fears in life is not playing full out, right? Like is leaving, not living up to my potential. And so for me, I've hooked and jabbed a lot over the last 5 or 6 years. And it was not always easy. And a lot of times there was a lot of like, oh shit, right? Moments because they were not logical. It was like, why would you shut down that thriving community and that thriving business to go over here and do this thing? I can't explain it, right? Like it just felt right. So it sounds like that's very much what you've done, but something else that I think you've done. And I want to, if you'll tell us the story a little bit about your husband, because one of the things you'd shared on Facebook that when you first shared it, I was like, ooh, that's a good podcast conversation was, being in your current marriage and your current relationship, your business has soared, right? Like since you and Derek wound up getting together to like where you are now, your business has thrived. Like, can we talk a little bit about that? Like your relationship and having the right partner, both business and in life and how that's looked for you. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I like to tease that it's both a blessing and a curse that we're both in real estate. So of course I'm in real estate, but I get to tell my husband like, hey, you get to sleep with the boss. So, all that. Uh, no sexual assault going on here, but
Take that claim here. It's fine.
I know exactly. It's encouraged. No, he really. I think because we started out as such good friends going
Yeah.
into our marriage, I think that made all the difference. And we are very opposite, and he's the type where he's so happy to just let me have the stage, let me have the limelight. He's a supportive, like, go for it, honey. I believe in you, and just speaking life into me. And that wasn't something that I felt before, or maybe I could have, but I just didn't feel the confidence in myself or all that. And that came by being, I think, with the right partner, the person that I meant to be with. And so because of that, taking moves in business, it's scary. And sometimes you're your own hype person. And when you don't have to be your own and you have a spouse that's for you and says, yeah, let's go for it, then you're like, all right, we're all in. And so that has made all the difference in the world. And, I never looking back over my career, of course, there were seasons where my children were little and, there will always be those different seasons of life. And so maybe it's also just marrying up to where my kids are older now with more time. Even with my kids, it was important for me to show up as a business owner and show my kids what is possible. If you work hard and they see me struggle, it's not all glamorous too. It's just, I know that I want to instill that in them as well. And they also get to see their stepfather in the role that he plays in supporting their mom. And it's just, I'm so, so proud that he's in their life, and it's made the difference. I really do think it was a game changer in my real estate business.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I think I learned later in life, right, Kim? My story is, I climbed the corporate ladder. I didn't meet my ex-husband till I was 29. I didn't have babies till I was in my 30s. And so I was already on this career path, right, before I got into a relationship. And like, there's a small part of me that's like, I think we need to talk about this more as women, especially those of us that are business owners, or we have very powerful personalities, or we like being the center of attention, like finding the yin to our yang without emasculating our men. Like, how do we, allow them to lead us when we're the ones who are leading others? And, that's not easy. It's not easy for either one of us, right? It's not easy for us as women to let them lead. And it's not easy for them as leaders, as alpha males, to let us shine. But when you find the right person, it works. And the relationship I'm in right now, it's just been really beautiful and really fun. But I just don't think that's something we talk about a lot, right? Like we talk about business and we talk about winning, and like, not to say that like if you don't have a thriving marriage or relationship, you can't be successful in business, but damn, it makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. And it just comes through, I think, in the authentic way that you come across in your marketing, in your interactions with clients, that people just see the authentic joy that you have in what you do. Because I'm sure we've all met people and you're like, they hate their lives. You can tell it. No, they're slowing up and maybe they're successful, but they hate their lives.
Yeah.
And so life's too short. And if I learned anything by losing my mom at such a young age, it's that she died young. She was 52. And I'm like, there's so much that she couldn't do, and there's so many sacrifices that she made for us that she couldn't. And so very early on, after she passed away, I had a mantra saying, mom couldn't do it because mom couldn't do it. And so that's why I showed up and did the hard things, is because she couldn't. Even like I ran a marathon and I was not a runner. Now, granted, this was during a time when I was going through struggles in my previous marriage. And
Sure. Yeah.
and I tell my current husband, I'm like, hey, if I ever start training for a marathon, you should get really worried, because I use that to like kind of de-stress by going on. And I hated running. I loved how I felt when I was done. But I was like,
Sure.
and people are like, why do you do it? I'm like, because my mom never could. She never could run a marathon. So I was like almost going out there trying to accomplish things
Yeah.
just and to honor her, and just to show, just to do the hard things. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's beautiful. But yeah, I think we struggle as successful women to settle into that role a little bit. And that was just like, and again, it was just a Facebook post, but even just to watch like him celebrate you online, and like you can genuinely tell that, there's this really beautiful connection, this mutual respect. And we get really focused on winning in business, and we think, oh, I'll worry about that later, right? Like, that was my story. I was so focused on winning in business that I knew my marriage was falling apart until it had, right? Like, I don't think if you had asked me, I would have been like, it's not perfect, but like, it's fine. I don't think those are the words I would have used when I was in the thick of like being so focused on growing the business that, at the expense of a lot of other things. And who's to say, we can't go back and fix it. Nobody has a crystal ball, right? But, it is not, I think, something that's talked a lot about with powerful women is how do we balance that, right? How do we let our, our husbands, our partners, whatever, celebrate us and love us and support us and still shine, right? And
Mhm.
still be the badasses that we really are, but then still go home and take that off and be a wife and a mom and,
Yeah.
be supported in that way at home. And so I just wanted to bring light to that conversation because it appears that's what you have, and it's really beautiful.
It is. I mean, don't get me wrong, but there is certainly, like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. The curse part, because every now and then Derek will say, "Is like, hey, do you think you could take the wife hat off, and or can you take the broker hat off and put the wife hat on?"
Right.
And I thought about going and getting hats made that said wife, to actually physically do that.
Wanted to buy Kim a gift, guys. That's it, right?
I There you go. That would be great. Because it's hard, because I could easily let myself work all the
Sure.
time. He's more of a he's great. He will cook. He's the
Yeah.
best. And, just help with those things. Again, it's the balance in the household.
I love that. That's beautiful. So let's talk about the growth of your team because,
Yeah.
like you said, you've had, I think it was like 60-ish agents when you left kind of your boutique brokerage, went to this cloud brokerage. You were at 75 and
Mm.
we're at 214. And this growth
Yes.
has been, like super fast. Talk to
Yeah.
me about what you attribute that to in your journey, Kim.
I attribute it to 1,000,000%. It's the alignment factor. And it is being in a place where we resonate with the leadership above us. We
Yeah.
resonate with company culture. We
Yeah.
resonate with the fast forward thinking of where the industry is headed.
Yeah.
And really, the growth is not solely me. It is truly through all of our agent partners who are people are seeing the joy that they're having and the
Yeah.
fun that they're having, and they're not having that fun in their own brokerage. So
Right.
they're looking to hear what we're doing, and they're like, tell me more. What are y'all doing? And so it becomes a very easy conversation to have with other agents in our community. And I've always been very proud of the fact that all the agent partners that are with us, none of them have come by way of me picking up the phone and cold calling or
Sure.
something like that. It has all been organic outreach to us
Yeah.
saying, hey, I saw what you did on social, or I see what's going on over here. Can you tell me about it? Or because one of our agents tells their friends about it. So it is truly through the incredibly talented agent partners that I've aligned with over the last year. And they're the ones who are it's a group project, right? It's a group that connects. And so it's truly not me. It's just, I think, like I said, when you're having fun
Yeah.
and you're in a better financial position, making more money.
Sure.
And I truly, I kind of say, like, I dare you to find a more supportive, more fun, more encouraging place to work. And I think right now that's what people are looking for. They're
Yeah.
looking for a community. They're looking for people who have your back and will pick up the phone when you need help, so you don't feel like you're on an island. And
Yeah.
that is exactly what we provide. our president, Sharon at Real, he often says, the way for you to win in both business, like with your clients or with other agents, is proof over promise, meaning
Yeah.
show them what it means, not just tell them.
Right.
And so we do that a lot through, I love hosting retreats. So
Yeah.
people actually get to come and experience the culture rather than just hearing about it from someone. And so I think once they immerse themselves and they see truly that our agents are happy, they're having fun, then it
Yeah.
just becomes, hey, where do I sign up?
Yeah.
No, I,
Mhm.
I love that. And I think that's just such a testament to, I don't know what COVID did to the world, but like just alignment at work has felt different. And maybe it's just me and it's the bubble I live in where like that's people's number one priority, right? Like at one point in time it was salary benefits in the work world, right? Like in business, it was something different. In real estate, it was like who pays me the biggest commission and yada yada yada, right? We're now,
Right.
like, and God bless Gen Z are the ones that are like, no, we'll take less money for better culture, right? Like we'll take less money if if we can have more time with our families. And I think that is, it's almost like they're leading from behind, right? In that way where people are doing more and more of that. And not to say
Sure.
that, where it's like, yeah, if I prioritize feeling good and being aligned and being around smart people who do cool shit in the world, then I will naturally, all boats, right? All boats rise with the tide. And it just seems so beautiful because in an industry where, God bless y'all, you're the reason I have a job because you have been taught, that it's like, what have you done for me lately? Or, just work harder, oh, it's not working, just do more. And it seems like you guys are taking such a different approach, which has been, and again, and I experienced all this secondhand through my work with Courtney. And I feel very comfortable saying that because she shared it all in the podcast too, right? Like watching her shift from this luxury brokerage is every real estate magazine you've ever seen, that's what it embodied to this like fun, kind of silly. And I follow the president of Real on social as well. And just even the way he shows up, right? He's very chill.
Yeah.
He's always in jeans. There's pictures of his kids. He's constantly traveling and learning and in all of those ways, which are not at all, where it's like the bougie photos of us on our yacht. Maybe you should buy some luxury real estate instead of, here I am actually trying to create change in the world. And that's really what we all want as humans. So it's been really cool.
It's been a neat advertising shift over the last 20 years, really since social media came about. For so long, companies were spending millions of dollars to put out ads. It looked very corporate. And now if you look at it, companies are spending millions of dollars to look human and to come across as human.
Yes.
And so I think that that's been the attraction and the appeal as well. I mean,
Yeah.
to your point of, we kind of have this sneaker culture at Real where, our president's in Nikes and all that stuff. But I mean, even our logo, like over here, work hard, be
Yeah.
kind. It's just basic, but that's resonating with people now. They don't want the crap. They want the authentic you, like show up and be there for me. And,
Sure.
it's so attractive. So
Absolutely. Especially in the work that you guys do. And that's the thing that I've learned that's been really cool, Kim, and working with real estate agents, right? Is that when you don't work in the industry, it's just buying and selling houses, right? But when you work in the industry, it's so much more than that, right? Like it's the emotional support of what that looks like. Oftentimes people are buying a home because of a divorce or the loss of a loved one or a downsize or empty nesting, right? Like they're just big emotional decisions for people. So it's not just, who has the flashiest marketing. It's who makes
wow.
them feel seen, heard, and understood. And when I started teaching sales to new entrepreneurs in 2019, that was my number one thing. If you can help people feel seen, heard, and understood, they will do business with you. They will tell their friends about you. They will do business with you over and over again. They will refer to you. And it seems like, yeah, real estate, at least what I've watched you guys do over, the past 9 months I've been watching the industry has gone from this, like, let me show you how much money I made to let me show you how much I care.
Exactly. And the most successful agents you see, the ones making the most money are the ones doing exactly that. The ones that are real and showing up and being themselves.
Yeah.
So I think it's a refreshing shift, honestly.
Sounds
But it is interesting because then you're having to teach agents like stop being so salesy. They're so used to
Right.
being like just be yourself. Just come from a place of wanting to authentically help, and it'll be 10 times more powerful. So
Right. I mean, and that's just life in general, right? Like it's the whole go giver concept, right? The more you give,
yeah.
the more you get. And I think, yeah, again, just watching you guys do that's been really cool. So one of the things that we talked about before we hit record that I want to talk about before we wrap up here is putting the right people in the right seats. Cause you very much attribute your growth to like, you never really did this alone, right? Like from when you started your first brokerage, it was you and your sister. And then, even when you moved over to the other cloud-based brokerage, you and Derek were in business together, and now you're aligning yourself with, you know, other partners who have skills that you don't, right? Like have
Yeah.
strengths that you don't. And that I believe is probably why you're growing so quickly is you're not trying to put, you don't want 200 kids, right? Like you
Wow.
want, you want a good mix of that. Can you talk about like how that really thoughtful and strategic alignment has accelerated the growth, Kim?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think as leaders, we try to be everything to everyone. But as soon as you realize you can't and you shouldn't, you should stay in, as my friend Sarah says, your zone of genius
Yep.
and learning those things. And I think where that's where you come in so well is to help people realize what their true strengths are and play off of those. And so that's what I've tried to do in the past. So starting out, my sister and I, we were a great partnership because I'm the one with the big ideas. I don't know if you are familiar with the Enneagram. I am a true a 7. I am
Okay.
the idea person, the creative one. I'm looking for as soon as I have one idea, I'm like, okay, and on to the next.
Yep.
Because she was more the great, she was the one behind the scenes doing our taxes and doing, and so it worked because that's not where my brain was. And so I realized quickly it was important to have someone that complemented where you were lacking. And then when we came upon the rebrand of the brokerage, I knew that having a great mentorship program for newly licensed agents was crucial. And that is where I saw a lot of brokerages drop the ball, where they weren't really giving those new agents the attention that they needed. And so that is when I reached out to Sam. She's called her my work wife. She was where she came along and she had been an agent partner with me since I started. And if you've ever met Sam, there's no one else like her. She's a ride or die or hype girl. And she came from a teaching and a coaching background.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to pick someone to help me lead this, who is it? And it was an obvious choice because that was a skill set that I didn't have that she came in and filled it in beautifully. And so people now see her passion for that teaching and just being authentically her. And that's why another thing I really attribute to our growth and success is having someone like that in that role.
Yeah.
And so I think anytime you try to do it all yourself, you're gonna get burnout.
Sure.
You're fail, and you're also gonna then not feel as joyful getting up every morning doing what you do. So now of being at a cloud-based platform like this, what's cool about this is, for example, since you mentioned Courtney, she's brilliant. Obviously, we call her the TikTok queen, right?
Yeah.
I show up on TikTok, but nowhere near in the
Right.
well, how she has it mastered, right?
Right.
And so now when we have agents that partner with us, and that if that's something they want to learn about, I can say, "Great, I'd like you to meet Courtney,"
Yeah.
Or if there's someone that wants to learn about another way of doing business, we have these people within our organization that are openly collaborating, sharing, wanting to do that. And it creates just this beautiful network in this community. So I think that's why this type of platform will outperform all the rest. So
Yeah. No, I think that's really amazing because it is true, especially when, you could easily be seen as competitors, right? Like you were sharing before we hit record that like you and Courtney, live a neighborhood apart,
yeah,
you know. And so it's really easy to be like, well, if I bring this person into the fold, like she's going to scoop up this business. And and Courtney even told me that before she made the switch over to Real was that was very much where she had come from was this, yeah, everyone like
yeah,
her, but they saw her as competition. They saw her as a threat, right? Like because she doesn't do things the way other people do things and
yeah.
all of those different ways. So it's just been really cool to see that like you're very much collaboration over competition, which is also not a typical vibe of your industry.
No, it's not. And that's not where we came from. It was very much a dog eat dog.
Yeah.
If someone was doing awesome in your office and you ask them, hey, how are you doing this? You're not getting the secrets. They're keeping it for themselves, right? But when you learn that you all have your own people that will gravitate to you, that I would, for example, some of Courtney's clients will never be mine. Some of the way Sam does her business, different from me. So
Yeah.
we are our own cup of tea, we're all the different flavors and you're going
Yeah.
to find people that like you. So
And that's what, that's such a big part of what I teach, right? Like it's finding an energetic match and energetic matches in different seasons of life and energetic matches and values alignment, right? And all of those different things. And so, yeah, there's more than enough if we can, keep our eyes on our own page instead of worrying about what so-and-so's doing and so-and-so's doing and so-and-so's doing. And it seems like you guys have done just such a cool job. And delighted to be part of it. Even sometimes I'm like on the outside looking in over there, but I'm so excited to go with you guys for the Courtney's big book launch. And you said that, events are your love language, guys. So I'm working on getting Kim to Kansas City for my local friends. Apparently we're gonna find a way to host an event here. It'll be a lot of fun. But Kim, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for just being open. If people want to follow you, connect with you, where are all the places they can hang out with you, Kim?
Yep. My handle is simply Kim Dean. So you can find me there on Instagram, TikTok, and on Facebook. So
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you for tuning in to the Uncensored Self podcast. If you're walking away with a new perspective, some fresh inspiration, or the push you needed to show up as your uncensored self, I'd love to hear about it. Share this episode, leave a review, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Remember, success isn't about following somebody else's rules. It's about owning who you are, deciding what you want, and going after it unapologetically. Until next time, keep leading, keep creating, and stay uncensored.